If I told you there was a way to hack your brain into being much better at needle felting shapes, and it involved felting upside down, would you try it?
You mean like this?
No, not quite. This isn't Britain's Got Talent, you know. Anyway, I've been studying these brilliant needle felting artists, and I'm going to share with you the secret to how they get their needle felted items to look like an accurate replica of the animal or anime character they're copying. And I'll show you a fun needle felting exercise which will help you improve your wool shaping skills whether you're a beginner to needle felting or experienced. Oh, and make sure you watch to the end where I'll give you some extra shaping tips so that with a little practice you'll be able to needle felt a finished product that looks amazing. Also, I want you to take a moment out of your busy life to needle felt something just for your own satisfaction. We do so much for others in our busy lives. Now and then it's good to just focus on the process and being in the moment.
Ooh, very zen.
So let's get started. Most of the time, the left side of our brain takes control whenever we do something that's fairly new to us. But when it comes to sculpting and drawing, using the left side of your brain is like using a pair of nail clippers to cut some paper. It is possible and will do the job, but the end results might look a bit odd. As Betty Edwards explains in her book Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, we'd get better results if we use the right side of the brain, which is responsible for anything non-verbal, and it's the side of the brain you use to judge spaces and distances. It's also where all your creativity happens, whereas your left brain is responsible for speaking, being logical and symbolic. So the left side of our brains will draw in a simplistic way like this.
What's wrong with this masterpiece?
Yeah, it's, very unique, but our right side of the brain sees more of exactly what is in front of us and draws more like this. This also applies to sculpting. This is how those amazing needle felting artists I mentioned earlier get their wool sculptures looking so good. And this needle felting exercise I've adapted from Betty Edwards' book will help you use the right side of your brain to tap into this way of seeing. Let's get on with the exercise, but before you start, you really need to listen to all the steps and tips on shaping before you begin felting. Step 1. First, I need you to find a small, soft toy or small ornament. It needs to be something that has a fairly simple shape, not too complicated or anything that might damage easily. I'm going to use this little cat ornament. Step 2. Allow yourself about an hour or more. If you have a limited amount of time to spend on this, set an alarm on your phone so that you don't have to keep looking at the time, as this will throw you back into a left brain way of thinking. But if you don't mind how long it takes, then skip this step. Step 3. Get a piece of blue tack or white tack and put it on the top of the ornament, because we're going to stick it upside down on the table, or you can lie it down on the work surface upside down. But don't turn the ornament or your work the right way up until you've finished. I'll explain how and why this works at the end. Step 4. I'm going to start by looking at the back of the ornament, or a side where there are the fewest details. Look at the ornament and the shapes it's made up of. Decide whether you can make the main body of the shape out of one piece of wool. Study the size of the top half, comparing it to the bottom half. Step 5. Start by making the largest shape out of the core wool. We're going to make it exactly the same size as the ornament or toy you've chosen. Don't forget to roll your core wool as tightly as you can. This will reduce how much you have to stab it to get it firm and make shaping it easier. Look at the outline of the main shape and copy any curves by changing the angle of your needle. Don't forget the wool will go in the direction of your needle. So as you go around a curve, your needle needs to change angle, always pointing 90 degrees to the surface of the required shape. And don't forget to rotate your reference ornament or toy and check that the changing outline matches your needle felted version, always keeping it upside down. Please don't forget to click the like button if you find this video useful. That way you'll be helping other felters to see it too. I really appreciate your support. Thanks. Step 6. The next thing to remember is to avoid naming parts of the ornament that you might recognise. If you find yourself thinking, oh, that's the cat's ear, then focus back on looking at the shape of the wool section you're making and comparing it to the relevant bits sticking out of the ornament. Try to just think of it as shapes. When you turn the ornament round to the front and start adding details, again try not to name them. Just try to think of them as lines or dots, and look how far from the top, the side or the centre of the shape they are. You can also use the shape for reference points and look how far away from each other the details are. As you continue to move through the different parts of the ornament, you might find that you're getting into the flow of noticing each detail, curve, dip and bump of the ornament, checking the angle or length of a shape and no longer trying to recognise the parts. Don't forget that you can add pieces of wool to build out areas that are raised or stick out. Step 7. One last important thing before you begin doing this exercise. Remember, this is only practice. It doesn't matter what it turns out like. No one else needs to see it. It can go in the bin later if you're not happy with it. And try not to think too much or make it complicated. You're just looking at the ornament and looking at the shapes, angles and how they relate to each other. Step 8. When you've finished, come back here and I'll explain why I've asked you to keep it upside down and take you through how this has helped you to improve your shaping. Now pause the video and go and start copying the upside down ornament.
Have they gone?
I don't know, can you have a look?
I think they've gone. Oh, now they're back.
Great, okay, so you've finished it and you're back. Were you pleasantly surprised how well it turned out when you looked at your felted ornament the right way up? Basically, by having the ornament upside down, you're making it hard for the left brain to see anything it has symbols for. Then because it's doing a task that it's not good at, it gets bored and frustrated. So it allows the right brain to take over. The right brain is good at judging distances, angles and shapes, therefore it's good at sculpting. So because we made it hard for the left brain, it let the right brain get on with what it's good at. I find when I'm in this mode that time passes quickly. The critical voice I sometimes get in my head switches off for a while, and when I look at what I've done, I'm not quite sure how I did what I did. But it's because we're using the right side of our brains and actually seeing what's in front of us rather than what our left brain has a symbol for.
Am I looking in a mirror? Perhaps you're my twin sister.
Well, to be honest, if I'm really critical, I can still see very slight differences between them. So I'm still learning too. It comes down to practice. So try repeating this exercise with a slightly more complicated shaped ornament, keeping it upside down of course. After doing this a few times, your brain will start getting more and more used to being in this right brain way of seeing. If it's not looking right but you can't see why, take a break. Step away from it for an hour or so, or maybe come back to it the next day and you'll be able to view it with fresh eyes. This really works, I use this technique a lot. And if you're still struggling to get your needle felted items looking amazing, then you might be making some very common needle felting mistakes. And in this video I'll not just show you those mistakes, but I'll explain how to fix them and make your items look better than ever. So you might want to watch that video next. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell for more needle felting tips. Thanks for watching.